Welcome back to another episode of the Downsizing Roadmap Podcast with your hosts, Jody Roscoe and Heather Fisher. We're talking about all things downsizing, from our own experiences with clients to guest experts. Let's make downsizing easier, one conversation at a time. Hi, welcome to Downsizing Roadmap Podcast. We're so excited to have you here. Today we're going to talk about rethinking your rooms and designing as you downsize. So not just thinking about like what we're getting rid of, but actually how we're going to design it.
Yeah, I'm Heather Fisher.
I'm Jody Roscoe.
And we're excited to talk about this today. I think that, looking at the process with some fresh eyes, the end result, whether you're moving somewhere new as part of this process or staying where you are and just downsizing to make things easier, when you're doing it with that vision of a little design and feeling like new, even if it's your same things, can really make it feel fresh and inviting and really change your emotions around it.
I think we really get kind of complacent where we are and kind of just stop looking around. We see that so much. People, will live with something that might be broken or, whatever in their house because they just don't even see it anymore. When we were at our old house, Mark fixed our shower head, and so he had to do the drywall around it, and it was not painted like that for 7 years because I just didn't pay attention to it. And I think that's the same with our design. We had a time when we did the house or we did the rooms or whatever, and then we just kind of haven't really freshened it up at all, and we just kind of live with it and don't even really look at it anymore.
Yeah, I think even when I'm dusting or cleaning a little bit, and I catch myself putting things back in the exact same spot on the table and, angling it the same way. And why? I mean, we could freshen it up in small ways all the time just to make it, something new to look at and all of that. But I do that.
Yeah, we all do that. So I think using the word design, I just love this idea of using the word design because that changes your mindset from what should I be getting rid of? What do I need to get rid of? To, what kind of space do I want to create?
Yeah, designing is all about editing and curating and, making those deliberate choices. And I really just feel like downsizing should be too.
Yeah.
And if you're picking up one item at a time and it just evaluating it as its own single entity without a big picture, that's a lot more challenging to do. And your end result won't have that same feel and coziness and just enjoyability.
Yeah, it'll be kind of disjointed and not thought through, I guess.
Yeah,
right? You're just
that's what I was trying to say.
Placing things here and there and not really kind of disjointed. So, so let's talk about this today. I just love this idea. Okay, that sounds great, Heather and Jody. How are we going to get there, right?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes downsizing is a change in your lifestyle, right? There's a reason that you're doing that. So that person who you were and the design that they had and the things that they did every day, are probably different from what the future is going to look like. So this is all in that first step that we talk about when we do our 5-step program. This is all part of that kind of dreamy, what are we going to do? And like Heather said, you can do this now at your house, even if you're not moving, if you just are wanting to try to simplify it, or you can do this with a vision of what are we going to do when we move.
Yeah, and I think that many people don't want to get started on their things because in their mind they're not ready for that move.
Yeah.
And we're always advocating, if you have the time, take the time available to you to move down the road and get to the point of being ready so you're not doing it in a crisis. And this way, if you shift your mindset to designing with less and with, different things that you might be pulling out of boxes and getting rid of some other things, you're really not... You're taking away that feeling if I start giving away things now, my house, I'm not ready to leave my house, so I don't want to have nothing here. I think that's a different way that you can, live with this in a fresh way until the move is imminent.
Right. So, all right. So what does that mean? So decluttering is often framed like as subtraction. You're just going to kind of take things away and take them away. But design is about creation, right? Like you're creating a feeling in a room. You're creating a vibe of like what is that?
The purpose of a room.
Right, a purpose of a room, right. So when you're starting to do that, then what is that going to look like as you're starting to look at your things? So I think that we have so many clients who've done this as we talk to them about simplifying their house when they're getting ready to sell it. So when you go to sell your house, we walk through and talk about staging and all of that. And so I think that is an interesting thought process of like as if you were staging your house.
Exactly.
Because what would you want that to look like, and what do you want trying to portray there, and then people always say, oh, I want to live it like this. Like, why didn't I do this sooner? It just feels so great to have the house look like this. And why didn't I do this sooner comes out of their mouth most of the time. And sometimes it's like, I don't even know if I want to sell the house now because it looks so great. Yeah. And so again, stuff just starts piling up in places and we don't see it. So, so start walking through your rooms and kind of seeing with new eyes as if maybe somebody else who hasn't been there is looking at them.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the key is to, before you do anything physically, to just walk around, whether that's with a notepad and a pen or you're just thinking it through. Stand in the doorway of each room and just, close your eyes a minute. What would you love it to feel like in an ideal world? What emotion do you currently feel about that room? Is it serving the purpose that you want it to? Is there a completely different purpose that you would like it to? Or is it just not able to do the intended purpose because it's overcrowded? I think that's the best place to start. And then when you're in there, doing whatever that purpose is, does the decor suit that, the emotion that brings, the lighting, all of the pieces together, does that make a perfect room if you were, starting with a blank slate?
Yeah. And what are you doing these days? Like, what do you spend your time doing? Are you doing that in a comfortable place? Is it, are you reading and doing things and you just don't have a place for that? Or do you have the perfect place for that? Like, what is it? Are there hobbies that you're doing, but you lay them out on your kitchen table all the time? Could there be a room that you're not using as a guest room anymore or something like that could become a hobby room? Like, really just kind of think outside the box of what that looks like. Because decluttering versus designing, decluttering is, do I still use this? Do I still need this? Can I let it go? Designing is, what do I want the space to do for me?
Yeah, exactly.
How do I want this space to feel? What story do I want to tell about this home that I'm living in or about myself? Again, when we also are talking about going through things and what is your legacy and what are you going to leave and what are your favorite things, like this is all just thinking about all of that together and then using those ideas to create spaces that are going to feel like that.
Yeah, that will serve you well. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that, just having that dream on paper, on that checklist, will make the going through and sorting things so much easier because it gives you that filter back to our last episode when it was like set parameters and rules before you get started.
Yes.
If you've defined the room and the feeling and the emotion that you want it to have, that is your rule for each item. Does this
fit there?
Make me happy? Does this serve the purpose of this room? Does this need to, leave the house entirely or at least leave this room? It gives you that starting point for your metrics around each item. But you can't do that if you're just starting by picking things up and thinking, what do I want to get rid of?
Right. Yeah. I think that's too hard, actually. I think that is so much harder than if you have those little rules from the last episode, and then if you add on top of it the parameters of your design and what you're trying to look at and all of that. So, okay, so if you want to do this kind of in a low-tech way, like how are we going to actually, step by step, how are we going to get this done? So if you want to do it in a low-tech way, we're going to envision our future like a notebook method.
Yeah.
Right? And so we're going to write the name of every room on the top of a page. And then underneath it, you're going to want to use that space for how you want to, or use the space on the paper for how you want to use the space in the room, right? How do you want to use this room? So maybe the kitchen, you used to do all kinds of baking, and maybe you don't do that anymore. Maybe you decorated cakes for fun, and maybe you don't do that anymore. Maybe you do it more than ever now, and that's the thing, and everybody gets a decorated cake. Whatever it is, what is it that you want to do in each of those rooms,
Yeah, and I love being forward-facing. What do I want to do in this room instead of a loss of what did I used to do in this room? Just looking at the space you have, whether it's your existing home or whether you're in the process of moving somewhere else, what do I want these spaces to serve me for versus feeling that you've lost something you used to do.
Yeah, because yes, look forward to the future, see what we're going to do next. In your dining room, maybe you host book club or wrap gifts or do puzzles. Like, what is it that you do? We do puzzles in our house all the time. We love puzzles. And so I've always wanted like a dedicated puzzle table to, just leave it out somewhere. I still don't have I don't have the space in my house for that right now. But think about that. Where could it be? What could that look like? Yeah,
my dad used to get a new, giant puzzle for Christmas every year from my mom, like the 2,000, 5,000, huge puzzle. And it would live on their dining room table for like the month after Christmas. He would get the one new puzzle and do it. But then his birthday is in January, so we'd come for a birthday celebration and the tablecloth would just go over top of the puzzle. It was a little bumpy, but it was every year just
That's amazing.
Christmas. But then the puzzle was going to occupy, from Christmas until it was done. And that was usually a month or two because they were just those giant puzzles. So any holiday after that, which was my dad's birthday, just tablecloth on top of it.
That's so funny. I love that.
Guess it worked because it was his puzzle and his birthday.
I love that she's just like, we're going to just hide this and we're all just going to eat her anyway. We're not going to put it away. That's too hard.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
So the name of every room on the top of the page, and then sit in there, kind of think about what you're going to do with that room, what you want to do in that room. And then you're also going to write down 3 feeling words for each room. What kind of feeling exercise, like a little feeling exercise you're doing? Like, what kind of feeling do you want in the room?
I think that following instructions sometimes helps us get through these pieces when we're not maybe as dreamy as other people.
Yeah.
Like, when you're saying write 3 feeling words, to me, who is less of that dreamy type person, I'm like, that's an assignment. I can come up with 3 words, and it kind of forces me to do that. So be careful, when we give you these tips, it really is great to literally write the name of the room and write those 3 feeling words and write, what you want it to serve, because pencil to paper makes you come to an answer, and saying I'm writing 3 words is different than just kind of breezing through and looking around like, oh, I want my whole house to make me happy.
Right.
You're really narrowing it down, and if that's hard for you, paper and pencil will help, and putting a parameter on there definitely helps.
Like, okay, so some examples would be like your living room, you want it warm and light and inviting, like where you want people to be able to be there and it feels cozy and it has good light or, whatever. Those would be examples of words for your living room. Like for your bedroom, examples could be peaceful, uncluttered, calm, because we've told you that the more clutter, that increases your cortisol levels and you can't sleep very well and focus. So you definitely want some of those words in your bedroom.
Yeah, absolutely. It's bringing up the stress and the cortisol levels, especially for women, that affects it even more. So if you're listening and that's you, reducing that stress just helps so much with so many areas of your whole life and your health by just having that peaceful environment.
Yep. And for me, what that meant was I don't have a TV in my room anymore, in my bedroom, right? So that helped me with that peaceful whatever. So it's like you're going to watch TV out there, and then when it's time to go to bed, it's just a peaceful place. Now, that may or may not be you, but just things that you can think about what that looks like. And colors, once you get to that, colors, there are peaceful colors, there are vibrant colors, there's color can do all kinds of things as well.
Lighting can definitely set your emotions in a room, and on the flip side can be what you need for safety and security. If you're up moving around and there's any mobility issues. So
yes,
both of those.
Yeah. So then you're going to want to sketch the place or the space. You don't really need a degree in architecture or art to do this. You can just kind of, make a picture. What I actually like to do is to take graph paper and make each square like a foot.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of create your own little floor plan. It's actually very easy to do if you're not technology oriented.
Yeah.
And you can even cut out your furniture in little pieces, and then you can physically move them around the room just to kind of give you an idea of what that looks like little puzzle pieces.
Yeah, I prefer the paper method much more than technology, less frustrating to just be able to push things around and make quick changes on paper to see what will fit where.
Yeah, and if you're techie, there's all kinds of apps that you can use to create a floor plan, to put fake furniture in it. That's kind of fun too if you want to play around with that. But I also do like the old school. It's like reading a paper book and reading, the Kindle or whatever. You're both reading, but I don't know. There's something tactile about being able to just physically move that around and kind of play with it personally.
Yeah. I think it just makes it so apparent too when you have too much furniture, when you're trying to fit that in on paper.
Yeah, where the whole walls are all lined with furniture, and then there's furniture in the middle, and you're like, wait, there's a lot of stuff in here. Or if you're even cutting it out, trying to be like, oh my gosh, I'm cutting out so many pieces of furniture to go in this room. And it's okay to have some empty corners or just to have some empty spaces on the walls, and that actually gives you that brain relief, of not having so much feeling crowded by your things. So when you're doing this, if you're doing it for the house that you're staying in, is there some things that could be removed that you don't need? Are there things sitting in the corners that you don't need anymore? Or have you piled up some stuff that really should go away or go somewhere else? Think about those things and give yourself some free space in the room when you're designing it. And if you're doing it for your next place, be cognizant of that. Your sofa might be too big for the next place, or things like that. So be really cognizant about what that looks like, and don't take too much stuff for the next space. I think we see that very often too, where people just end up crowded into their smaller space and hating that crowded feeling because they didn't let go of it.
Yeah, they think that the move was a mistake, and they're not quite realizing that the move could have been a wonderful thing, but bringing too much was where they maybe went a little, off the path.
Yep. So what could we take away to get more space? What could be rearranged to make it more functional? Sometimes, it's fun to rearrange the furniture, and just it kind of gives a whole different feel to the room.
Yeah.
You and I talked about this. We both did this when we were little. After our room got too messy, we would clean it up and rearrange every single thing in the room.
Yes. The only lesson I didn't know yet was that I should, not bring everything back in.
I did not get rid of anything either.
Yes, so. Way too many stuffed animals and everything else. But I do think too. One of the suggestions we have here is, to look at that room, and whether you're writing it down for yourself or whether you're doing this with your partner or just have a friend over, verbally or, in writing, put down what you love the most about the existing room. Because sometimes I think we forget that. And if a room is too cluttered or just been causing you stress because it's not quite right, you forget the things that originally had you love it. And are those things that can stay, and the rest can be brought back to working around that. So whether that's your favorite piece of furniture, or it's something about the room itself, or it's something you love it so much because that's where you have your morning coffee every day, or that's your most peaceful time of day, or the way the sun comes in, how can you enhance the pieces you love about it and not let them get lost in the shuffle?
Yes. Yeah, we don't want you to get rid of all the things, just the ones that aren't serving the purpose anymore of either who you used to be or just because you just haven't gotten around to letting it go. Sometimes we just don't get around to it. So, okay, let's look at it room by room. Right. Okay, so the living room. Is the furniture arrangement serving for conversation or for reading or for TV watching? Like, what do you do in there? Right? Yeah. Friends over, maybe the couches could be, facing each other so that you can have better conversation there. Maybe you need the couch to face the TV or the fireplace, or maybe you don't even need a couch at all. You just need some really great cozy chairs to read in. Who knows? Yeah. But, what is that doing? Are you using all of the seating regularly? This is back to, do you need all of the furniture that's in there? Is the decor reflecting the current you? Or is that 15 years ago decor? We did the room. Yeah. And now we haven't touched it. And are we just used to it, or do we still love it?
Yeah. And there are ways to freshen it up just a bit with, switching things from one room to another, different accessories in different rooms. And, there are ways that you can use what you already have to see what you love most and get rid of some of the rest of it.
Yeah.
So in the kitchen, do your cabinets reflect your cooking habits? Are you storing for function or out of habit? I definitely fall into that category of all the stuff in the back of the cabinets that I just have because I have it for whatever reason. And then definitely the 80-20 rule applies in my kitchen. I cook, frequently. We eat at home a lot, but I am using 20% or less of all of the things we have in the cabinets for sure.
I'm in that same boat, and we're actually in a place where our daughters are gonna, get their apartments and all of that stuff. And I'm like, okay, it's time to go through the kitchen and be, honest about whether we really need all of that stuff. And I already can think of things that I know I don't need. Yeah. And so what can we, is there some place that you can give that to that needs it? Not, she's excited about it. She's like, cool, let's go through the kitchen. Yeah. That needs it. And then, just pare down what you have to look through all the time.
Yeah. I mean, even if you don't have friends or family, that are in that stage where they might need and appreciate those items. I mean, donation resources, there are so many people in need that are just starting out or are, setting up households, starting over for whatever reason, that those houseware items, I mean, they last a long time in most cases. Pass it on, let someone else use it.
For sure, yeah. Bedroom. What makes you feel rested? Like I said, for me, it's no TV in there. Is this space cluttered with non-bedroom items, paperwork? Did you put a desk in there and now it's full of, things where the desk might be able to go somewhere else? Is it, piled full of storage? Do you have a wall of things, piled up in your bedroom?
Is your closet spewing out into the bedroom and, because your closet is too full, so you have piles of clothes or things that don't have a home because that hasn't been, filtered down.
Your nightstands, are they full of stuff that you don't use? Or the tops of the nightstands full of stuff that you don't use? Or the top of your dresser, is that got perfume on there from, 20 years ago that you're not going to use anymore or whatever? Again, we just sit things there. We are all do it. But, we just sit things there and then we don't look at them again or don't, go through them again.
The emotion around having clean or 90% cleared surfaces, tables and shelves and all of that, to have the majority of those surfaces be just the beauty of the surface is an emotional difference that if you're living where it's very crowded at the moment, taking that step first I think that was back in our 10-day challenge or jumpstart. But just starting with those flat surfaces that surround you, it changes the emotion of the whole house. And like Jody said earlier, we definitely see that when we ask people to clear those surfaces for photos. That's not the attics and the garages and deep corners of closets yet. That's just your day-to-day visual clutter gone. And that is an amazing first step.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. So guest bedroom and extra bedroom, I think this is where we can really be the most creative because what are you using it for? And is that what you need to use it for, right? If it's a guest bedroom and you don't have guests come anymore, what could you do? Could you make a little reading nook? You could make a craft room. You could do an office, a little office where you put that paperwork that was in your, bedroom and, kind of have a place that you create something else. Just what is it that might not be working in your house? And is there a space that you're just really not, a room you're not even going into? And what could we do, with that space? Yeah.
Exercise room.
Yeah.
Lots of things.
Yeah. Or you do have overnight guests and you don't have an extra, room. You have something else. Or you do have an extra room and it's great and you use it. Like, it's fine if that's the case. It's fine if what you're finding is like, hey, yeah, these work. And then maybe just freshening them up or making sure that they're cleared out of all the things.
Yeah. And if the best purpose for you is a guest room, I think a lot of times we see that those guest rooms, those extra bedrooms, because we're not using them day to day, they do become very much storage rooms as well.
Oh, for sure.
Which makes it hard to, have a guest at the last minute or to make their stay comfortable if the room is filled with a lot of stuff you just need to store and should probably get rid of.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to write the name of the room on the top of the page. We're going to say what it is now and then what you want it to be and 3 words on how you want it to feel, and kind of go through that whole process. You might want to even pick out a little bit of a color scheme. You could easily go to a paint store and, look at different paint chips and see like what kind of colors you like and which ones kind of go together and pick out a little color scheme for that. And there are all kinds of interior designers that can help you with that if that's something that you are thinking about. But even you can do that yourself and just kind of go and see what the current colors are or go look at, throw pillows. I think throw pillows are a great way to change the whole look of a room if you're trying to do that. So you get some color that what you already have, or maybe you need a whole different color scheme, and paint is very inexpensive and can change the whole look of a room really quickly.
Well, and I think that easily goes back to those emotional words that, if you've started with putting those words and feelings around a specific room, when you're looking at something new, a new paint color or new throw pillows, ask yourself when you look at that choice you're thinking over, does this make me feel restful, peaceful, calm, whatever your words were?
Right.
And if not, it doesn't matter that it's pretty. It's not going to fit the mood that you want of that room, and there'll be a better choice.
Right. So, it's time. Some of it you may find that it's time to let it go. Maybe you had, lots of people in the house and now you have less people in the house and you don't need as much furniture or whatever that looks like. But do that with a forward thinking, like Heather had said earlier. Just make sure you're forward thinking about how the item served us and now it can serve someone else, and what's going to serve me now and in the future. What's that going to look like?
Yeah, I think we talk often about when you're going through this process to pause and give yourself those rewards for working through these steps. And this is a great episode where you can take this, and as part of using this as a downsizing tool, there are steps for rewarding yourself with new throw pillows or a new paint color. Those are the rewards for editing down those rooms or getting ready for your new space and purchasing those things. And it's really about embracing the new season of life that you're in and just celebrating yourself and that you're worth a treat and a little, freshen up to go along with the things that you love that you're keeping and bringing with you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think freshening up, I think we can do that with no money. Like I think sometimes you can invest a little bit of money, which is paint and some cushions and maybe different blinds or, different drapes or something like that, but not super expensive. But you can do stuff with just, you're going to pull out things that you didn't remember you had if you're starting to go through closets and, maybe boxes. And I think it's a super fun idea to take things from one room and decorate a different room with them and just see how they look differently in there and kind of just give it a different feel.
Yeah, I think that's a great small way to start is, if you have a set of shelves or a display piece or anything where you might have a lot of stuff that really hasn't changed in 5, 10, 15, 20 years and it's all the same stuff. Just like we say with your clothes closet or a kitchen drawer, take everything off of it and then go shop your house. Shop your own house, walk room to room, think what would look good on that shelf? What do I want to see more if it's, in your living room or somewhere you walk by every day, and just see what you can come up with to kind of redesign so you're not using it just because you have so much stuff and you need to find a space for that stuff. You're really using it as a way to decorate with the things that you love. And I think everything that you took off that didn't make it back up because you didn't love, that's your perfect maybe box.
Yeah, or if you're taking it from room to room and it just doesn't fit in any of the rooms, then it's time to let it go. It might even be something you're like, oh, this is pretty, but it doesn't fit well in the living room on the whatever, and it doesn't seem to go in the dining room here, and there's just no good place for it. That's okay. It's time for that one to move on out.
Yeah, and it's definitely hard. I just experienced this myself this weekend. We were starting to tackle the storage unit. As I've said before, a few years ago, my husband and I combined households into, his house at the time, and with the intent of another move shortly on the heels. And, then the world went through a pandemic and that slowed down a little bit and we waited. So I've had things from my original house in storage for what we thought would be a shorter transition, and getting ready for that next move and trying to go through things in the storage. And I felt myself tugging on things, decor items I had kept from my old house. And it was a struggle at times because I would look at it and think, I like it, it's pretty. But then I really started forcing myself to think, where will I put this in the new house? And if I couldn't answer that question or didn't even love it so much that I wanted to
find a
place, then it was just a pretty thing and someone else could use it. So I think we do that in our houses. We're like, well, why would I get rid of it? It's pretty, or it's fill in the blank. But
I think that's that concept of because we own it, we feel like it has more importance. It's just coming up at us. And so we just have to recognize it and be like, okay, but I don't need to own it, right? So that's okay.
Absolutely.
You can do a little bit of rotating your decor seasonally too. If you have too many things out at one time or whatever, you can do that. But I just be super careful about that. Make sure that it's a small bin of things that, whatever you take out of that bin, then the other stuff can go back in that bin. And it's just a small bit of things that can come out and, go back, and it doesn't turn into procrastination and reasons why you're going to keep it down in the basement.
Well, and I think it's the same as, the Christmas bins. It can be a different season other than Christmas, but if you're taking just the top 4 or 5 things and there's a whole layer of the bin that you're not pulling out and wanting to use season over season, start with that stuff and be honest about what you really are looking forward to pulling out each season.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So I think that's just the gist of it. We're just going to get dreamy about every room and purposefully design it instead of just start digging in, elbows deep of what do I need to get rid of? Because giving ourselves parameters around what that looks like and what we want it to look like actually makes that physical part of doing it easier.
Absolutely, and gets us that emotion at the end of my space, new or existing, makes me happy. And
Yeah.
that's what we would want for everybody.
And I think if you do one room and you really do it, then it's going to make the other rooms, like, you're going to realize, like, oh my gosh, I really want to do this in the other rooms too, because that room looks great.
Yeah, and start with a room that you're going to use frequently so you can get that benefits.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Well, we will be back next week with another episode. If there are any resources that we can help you with, as always, visit our website, www.downsizingroadmap.com, and we will talk to you next time.
Talk to you next time.
Thanks for joining us on the Downsizing Roadmap Podcast. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who might need a little downsizing inspiration. Have questions or ideas for future episodes? Reach out to us on our website, www.downsizingroadmap.com. Until next time, let's keep simplifying and moving forward.